Today we're learning about compositions and sequences. So the first thing we're doing is compositions. They are multiple transformations made on an object, and you must list each transformation used to move that object. These examples are actually a little more complicated than what you have in your packet, because as you see, this first one says triangle DOG, and then it says triangle D double prime, O double prime, and G double prime. And don't forget that double prime means that you have moved that twice. So it's actually only showing you one of the transformations, but there have been two made onto it. That's what double prime means. On your packet, it'll show you both of the transformations done to the original. In fact, this would be your single prime. This would be D single prime and G single prime. And I'm sorry, not G, O. I'm not expecting you to know that, or how I know that. I know that because I made this. So on your worksheet, it will look like this, where it'll have all the transformations on one coordinate plane. You'll be able to see it. So it's actually missing this one on yours. Anyway, to try to do this, you need to list your original points. So your D, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and then O, which is negative 5, 3, and then G, which is 0, 3. And then list your primes. So D prime is at 5, 8. O prime is at 5, 3. And G prime is still at 0, 3. So how did they change? So remember before, whenever I was showing you how we did this, this is when you actually have to be able to write this yourself. So our original was XY. How did it change from the original to the next? So how did my negative 5 go to a positive 5, and my negative 5 to go to a positive 5? Well, all that changed was that my X changed signs and my Y stayed the same. So that is my first transformation, is we just changed the signs of my X's. Then how did I move from my primes to my double prime? Here to list your double primes. So D double prime is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 5. O double prime, 6, 7, 8, and 0. And G double prime is at 3, 0. Okay, how did I go from 5 to 8? I added 3. How did I go from 5 to 8? I added 3. How did I go from 0 to 3? I added 3. So whenever I write my next one, X, I added 3 to it. How did I go from 8 to 5? I subtracted 3. How did I go from 3 to 0? I subtracted 3. How did I go from 3 to 0? I subtracted 3. So my Y's subtracted 3. So this is what your answers should look like whenever you are writing your compositions. Okay, and on this one, it is missing A prime should be here. R prime should be here. And C prime should be there. Again, I apologize for not putting these in the foldable. So the original points for C are at 1, 2, 3, negative 4, negative 6. The original points for A are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4. And the original points for R are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Negative 6. And then my prime, so C prime is at -2, -3. My A prime is at 2, 2. And my R prime is at 4, -3. So my original was XY. And how did that change? How did I get from -4 to -2, from 4 to 2, and from 8 to 4? Well, obviously I split all my x's in half. How did I get from -6 to -3, 4 to 2, or -6 to -3? I split all my y's in half. And then lastly, how did I get from my primes to my double primes? My double prime is at -1, 2, -4, -1. My A double prime is at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 4. And my R double prime is at 2, -1. So how did I get from -2 to -4? I subtracted 2. How did I get from 2 to 0? I subtracted 2. And how did I get from 4 to 2? I subtracted 2. So all of my x's subtracted 2. How did I get from -3 to -1? I added 2. How did I get from 2 to 4? I added 2. How did I get from -3 to -1? I added 2. So we're adding 2 to our y's. And this is my answer. So that's how we do compositions. Next up is sequences. So sequences are a list of transformations you must, I think it's complete, on a given object. Or perform. I guess perform would be a better word. It's whichever one makes more sense to you. If perform makes more sense than complete, write perform. Okay, so we have our original, and we're going to have to perform these different transformations on them. So your first step has to always be write your original points. So A. Actually, I made this spell something, so I'm going to write it that way. B, A, and T. So my original B is at -2, 2. My A is at 2, 8. And my T is at 0, -4. And then all I have to do is multiply my x's by 3 and keep my y's the same. So my B prime will be at -6 and my y stays the same. My A prime will be at 6 and my y stays the same. And my T prime will still be at 0 because 0 times 3 is 0 and my y stays the same. So you have to make sure that you go ahead and plot these things. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. Oops. That's B prime. A is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. A prime. And T prime is actually the exact same point. And then connect all your dots. And then we're going to split everything by a half. So B double prime is -3, 1, because half of 6 is half of -6 is -3, and half of 2 is 1. A double prime is 3, 4, because half of 6 is 3, and half of 8 is 4. And T double prime, half of 0 is still just 0, and half of -4 is -2. So my B double prime is at -3, 1. My A double prime is at 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And my T double prime is at 0, -2. So there are my sequences all in one. And then example 4. You list your original points, so P, which is at 1, 4, A, which is at 0, I'm sorry, not 0, 4, 0. T is at 0, 1, 2, 3, negative 4, and S is at negative 3, 0. And then my P prime, I have to subtract 1 from both, so 1 minus 1 is 0, 4 minus 1 is 3. 4 minus 1 is 3, 0 minus 1 is negative 1. 0 minus 1 is negative 1, negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5. And negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4, 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So my new P is at 0, 3. A prime is at 3, negative 1. T prime is at negative 1, negative 5. And S prime is at negative 4, negative 1. And then connect those dots. Now my double primes, I just multiply my x's by 3 and leave my y the same. 0 times 3 is 0, y stays the same. 3 times 3 is 9, y stays the same. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3, y stays the same. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12, and my y stays the same. So, P double prime is at 0, 3, stays in the same spot. A double prime is 9, negative 1. T double prime is negative 3, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then my S double prime is at negative 12, negative 1, which would be about right there. And lastly, we just change everything negative for our triple prime. So P triple prime, 0, negative is just 0, and negative 3. A triple prime is negative 9, and a negative becomes a positive, so a positive 1. T triple prime, 3, 5, because they were both negative, they now become positive. And S triple prime, because they're both negative, they both become positive. So P triple prime is still at P as at 0, negative 3, so that's my P triple prime as well. And at negative 9, 1 is my A triple prime. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is my T triple prime. And then 12, 1, that would be about there, is my S triple prime. Oh, that changed that picture a lot. Anyway, that is how you perform those. So, you guys can actually do your sequences and composition part in your packet, or it's composition sequences, whatever.